worked with the BBC and started getting, because a lot of people were very concerned that the BBC wasn't going to have anyone from the classic series involved in the 50th anniversary.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, I was asked this question about whether the classic Doctors would be in the 50th anniversary special for a good 2.5 years before the actual 50th year. And I always was fairly clear in my mind that we weren't going to be in it. I didn't think it seemed somehow fit. I know we had the 5 Doctors when I was there, and then I think the 2 Doctors after I left. But, you know, we were all a bit younger then. We changed quite a lot by 2013, so it seemed to be unlikely that they could find a way to fit us in. And I was asked at a convention, I think it was Louisville, Kentucky, although it may have been Hurricane Blue. And I was asked, this is about the 3rd or 4th time I've been asked, you know, are the classic Doctors going to be in the 50th anniversary special? And I replied slightly frivolously, I didn't think we were, but if we weren't, I was damn well going to make my own. It was just a casual remark. And the very next convention I went to, I got a question from the audience which said, apparently you're making your own. And so, oh dear, I suppose I had to do something then. And I'd done a couple of short videos for a convention, Gallifrey 1, where I had not been able to turn up. And I sent it as a little skit as an apology, and then I'd done another one the following year. So normally I've done it with my little camera. That's how I planned to do the 50th, the 5-ish Doctors Reboot. You'll have to shut me up actually at some point about this. I can't drone on for absolutely hours about this.
Keep talking.
And I'm very aware that I didn't get Terry in it, and I'm very sorry about that. But, so... Okay, cool. So I started off on that basis, and I asked Colin and Sylvester if they would be involved, and Paul, and they said yes. I don't think they were at all convinced. They didn't know what I was talking about. And it started off, the idea was about 5 minutes long, and it kind of grew. I had asked Stephen Moffat if he would make a brief appearance, and he'd said foolishly yes. And because I wanted to film them down at Cardiff, I had to send them the script. So I wrote a very basic script and sent it off to Stephen, who couldn't be bothered to read it. So he left it on the desk of Faith Penhill, who ran BBC Cardiff, and she picked it up and read it and thought, this would make a really good little extra for the 50th anniversary special. So they called me down there one day and said, we'd like to give you a camera crew. And I think it was £25,000. Now, for some reason, although I do know realistically how much television costs, I thought £25,000 seemed like quite a lot of money. And we then sat down to lunch, and by the end of the lunch, the 25,000 quid had gone. Just people on Brexit, getting one set or another set, or just organising things. The money just goes. But I was very excited by the idea that we had a camera crew, and actually then I was directing it. So we started off, and I kept just every day I would write another scene. And as an example, my daughter rang me up one day and said, John Barrowman's very cross about not being in the 50th anniversary special. And I said, right, we'll have him in ours then. So I wrote a scene. And then the huge turning point, I suppose, was Sylvester said to me, I really want to help you out with this, but I'm afraid I have to go back to New Zealand to finish The Hobbit. And two things came out of that. Was that Sylvester kept walking around telling everyone he was in The Hobbit. So I thought I'll put that in the 50th, in my 5-ish Doctors Reboot. And also I said to him, well, I tell you what, I'll write a scene for Peter Jackson, who was obviously the director of The Hobbit. And so he said, yeah, all right, well, I'll pass it on to him. I didn't hear anything. So then I got his email from Stephen Moffat, and I wrote Peter Jackson an email saying, please would you do this thing? I never expected to get a reply. I didn't know. 2 minutes later I got a reply saying, yes, of course I'll do it, and I'll get Ian McKellen in it as well. So suddenly the whole thing took off, and it ended up being the BBC, having started this roller coaster, then wanted me to cut it. They wanted me to. I filmed about 35 minutes of that. 35 minutes we filmed. And Brian Minchin, who was sort of the overall, I guess, in charge of it, took me aside and said, "We think it would be better if it was 10 minutes long." And we argued about this for a couple of days, and then in the end I just said to him, "If you make me cut it, I'll tell the fans." To empower you, you've no idea of the fear that's stuck in it. So we actually didn't, we trimmed it, and I think it was 33 minutes in the end, but everything that we wanted in was in. So. And I must thank my daughter who kind of was brought in to produce it effectively and arrange everyone's arrival and get through to their agents and stuff, and she was invaluable. That's it. I'll stop there, but I could go on, but I'll stop there.
You see, you have the power.
So Terry, you